Good morning, party people, and welcome to office hours. I'm all excited because I am when you go on vacation, like you don't really notice it until you get kind of close to the vacation, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I only have so many days left before I have to pack, before I have to do all these things. So I am flying out on an Alaskan cruise Sunday. Sunday I go fly out and fly over to San Francisco and take the cruise out of there. And all of a sudden, I was like, oh my gosh, I have all these things that I have to go do. Normally, packing is pretty quick for me, but I'm packing winter gear, of course, going to Alaska. And I haven't used any of my winter gear since Erica and I lived in Iceland. I put most of it out into boxes and it's all sealed up. I got to go unpack that and figure out how much I'm going to wear and what I'm going to need to bring. And then I also always wanted a camera that would make things a little bit more lively. I've tried to, when I do office hours, I've tried to have one of the motorized gimbals that kind of like follows you around so that it'll track where you're at and let the scenery behind you change. I have never had good luck with any of those. I've had really bad luck with it. Like there's these little phone gimbals from DJI Osmo, and they move around, but they're real vulnerable to wind and they shake a lot, even when you use a camera with them. So Sony just brought out a camera called the ZV-E1 that you stick on a tripod, and it's got a really big sensor, like this nice big 4K sensor, and then it'll crop out portions to make it look like there's a camera operator following you around. It looks amazing. So I just ordered that this morning. I would love to have that. We'll see that the Alaskan cruise will be the first dry run with it. My goal will be to stick the camera on a tripod on the cruise ship and up in Alaska and do office hours to where if as I'm moving around the camera focus follows me a little, it also automatically goes in and out like on 15 or 30-second intervals, so you get a wide angle shot plus a close up. It sounds like it's just going to be amazing. Fingers crossed. We'll see how it goes. If that works, I'm also going to set it up in here in my office so that I can be a little bit more animated. Right now it kind of has to crop in pretty closely because I use these videos for TikTok too as well. A lot of you probably don't follow me on TikTok because it's one of those things where either you love it or hate it. But with TikTok, it's vertical videos, which is why I set the camera up this way. The camera's actually tilted sideways in my office. And then Eve edits the videos together for TikTok, like each question is its own separate video. Connie says, hi from Nottinghamshire. As soon as this is finished, I'm off to vote in our local elections. My first time as a UK citizen. Oh, how cool is that? Connie, where were you before? And then what made you end up moving to the UK? That's kind of curious. There was a point where I was really seriously considering moving to the Isle of Man. Isle of Man is this little island off the shore of the United Kingdom. It's technically part of the United Kingdom, but also technically not. It's really neat how it works. But then once Brexit happened, I was like, whoop, nope, not doing anything to do with that. Samuel says, do we have to follow you on TikTok? No, I mean, yes, actually, you do. It's legally required by law. No, I mean, people use TikTok for different stuff, just like they use Instagram or YouTube or Twitch for different stuff. Me personally, when I watch Twitch, I never look at tech content. Like I never follow developers or programmers or anything like that, database people. All I do on Twitch is I watch Spooky Loops play Dead by Daylight. That's like and also when I play Dead by Daylight, I will go search whoever's streaming that I'm playing with, because sometimes people will, when they're playing, they'll put their Twitch name up on there, and then you can see who they are. And I'll say, "Hi, I'm one of the players in your match." Funny coincidence too. Right on the other side of this wall, there's my home theater. I have a home theater built with a 150-inch screen, big surround sound speakers, all kinds of stuff. I typically use that to play Dead by Daylight. I wanted to do this morning's stream as me playing Dead by Daylight, and I couldn't get the cameras quite set up the way I wanted to in time. I'm not streaming for the next couple of weeks because I'm up in Alaska, but after that, I bet one of the next live streams that I do will be me playing Dead by Daylight because I find it a really fun kind of thing. Oh, Connie says, I've been here 23 years. I'm just now moved for my ex-husband, moved from Dallas to, oh, okay, that's cool. Moore says, is there any info on TikTok that isn't on Twitch? No, no, absolutely not. What I do is I take office hours, and you know how I answer a bunch of questions? What I do is I split every question up into its own TikTok video. So that way, if you do follow me on TikTok, amongst lots of other people, you get little snippets of SQL knowledge injected into there. Because what a lot of people who are on TikTok, they only want to absorb, say, 60 seconds or 90 seconds worth of tech at a time. Then they want to swipe and they want to see a funny cat video or whatever. That's how I use TikTok too. I follow a mix of technical people, car people, architecture people, funny dog videos. So my stream on TikTok really reflects who I am when I go and open my For You page. I adore TikTok. It's an amazing way to spend 20 minutes as I get ready for bed. Guarnett says, good morning from Bay City, Texas. I've been there fishing, actually, many times. And then also we had Ashish said, good morning. So this morning, I'm actually not going to do questions on office hours. I'm going to do work on the first responder kit instead. The reason why I'm not doing questions today is because I go on that cruise on Sunday. I want to pile up questions so that when I'm on the cruise ship, I can sit on there and do, office hour style videos answering your questions. Because I can't do things like live coding interactively on a cruise ship because it's just not going to work live streaming on a cruise ship. The video's so dang slow, or the internet's so dang slow. Samuel says, imagine having to shorten a few change CTEs in a 60-second TikTok. Right, like there's some kinds of content that works really well for TikTok, and there's some kinds that don't. I never do demos on TikTok. Like you never see me do code. It's only purely the live question stuff. Rainy San Diego. Sorry to hear that it's raining over there. All right, so what am I going to do? Is I'm going to work on the first responder kit. So let's go hop over into our VM. Now, I don't usually work in Windows. I've got Windows up here. I've got a Windows VM up here that I'm using because it's easier for streaming because it's just a small desktop. Normally when I'm working on the first responder kit, I got this nice big 36-inch monitor, I think, and I'm doing it on a Mac, so I use tools like Azure Data Studio. However, this is just easier for me to show you in terms of streaming, so I'm going to work through it like this. First responder kit, SP Blitz, SP Blitz cache, and so forth. If you go to firstresponderkit.org, that's where people complain. That's where people file GitHub issues. And then they also, when I'm lucky, they also submit code. So if you've never seen firstresponderkit.org before, redirects over to GitHub. And then we've got issues and pull requests. Issues are things that people have complained about, features that they want fixed, whatever. And then pull requests are, here's code. I don't know why they call them pull requests. It's kind of stupid, but really kind of wish that they would call them push requests. But, please let me push this into your code base. Pull requests are code that sometimes supports these. For example, SQL Slinger, Rebecca Lewis, who has been working on SP Database Restore, she's also added pull requests. I just know because I happen to got the emails on the pull request, supporting for her code. So I'm going to start with a kind of an easy one. Let's click on this first one. It says for SP Blitz, product version minor for SQL Server 2016 might need to be updated. So all I've got here for a complaint or for an issue, it says, I wasn't sure how you're handling CUs for 2017 and higher if you're looking at whether or not ensuring the CU is within an extra amount. You know what kind of sucks about open source? It's a script where people could just open it up and read it. But this person, God bless their heart, they've actually submitted code before, but this person, God bless them, says, I don't know how you're doing this. Maybe you should fix something. Great. Thank you for this. So now I got to go figure out what it is that they're even complaining about. I'm going to do a search in the code for that. I don't even know what this means. Let's go copy paste this out. And we'll go open up the source code for SP Blitz. Let's see, C local only. Go look at GitHub. and SP Blitz. Let's go see what's in there. We'll do a Control F inside that code to go see if we can find out what it is that they're talking about. Okay, so here's at least one instance of the code, and he said, I wasn't sure how you're handling it for the other versions. Well, that's how we're handling it, and we do have things for other versions in there. I'm going to hit next on the find just to see, yep, that's the only instance of this code. So I'm just going to copy paste this out. I'm going to put it right into the pull request, or into the issue, and I'm going to say, howdy, I'm not exactly sure what you're saying is broken, but here's the relevant part of SP Blitz. Paste. Put this in on code. And I'm going to say, I found that by hitting, let me change my Zoom It session. Right now my Zoom It settings are settings so that it doesn't do live Zoom. We'll do Control 1, and then this one we'll do Control U. Okay, there we go. Ugh, well that didn't work. Okay, maybe I won't. I found that, but I found that by searching in code for what you were saying is a problem. The cool thing, I'm going to be a little sarcastic, about open source is that you can just open it up when you're not sure how something is being handled. Can you take a look through there and tell me if you spot any issues, and then be more specific with your request? Thanks. I'm being a little sarcastic because I'm live coding this on Twitch. But I do appreciate the issue. I don't appreciate the issue. Then I'm going to assign it to SM8680. And then we'll come back out. So there's one that we know that we've kind of knocked down. Hi, SQL Dev DBA, and hi, FarSQL. All right, next up, let's look at the next one here from Rebecca. It says SP Database Restore, option to fix up, clean up orphaned users. I'll get a little so I can see it all on screen. A cross-server database restore needs to fix up database principals that do not link correctly to server principals. For those of you who aren't aware of what this issue is, when you create a login in SQL Server, it has something called a SID behind the scene. And I don't know what the SID, if it's security identifier, what it stands for. But it's unique, and it's unique. If you don't specify it, it's unique to the server that it was created on. So if you create a login in one SQL server, then you restore the database to another SQL server, and even though you create the login, it won't be associated with it. So usually you have to run something like sprev users logins. There's a stored proc you could use to do it. So Rebecca says, give me a new option for fix orphan users equals ones. If it's set true when the restore is complete, go set the SID to the value of SID where database principal's name equals server principal's name. Alternative, security identifier. Okay, cool. Alternatively, this could be a separate proc. No, this totally makes sense. I like how she's doing it here. Yes, the code is not difficult, so she's ready to build the code for a feature. Yay! That's kind of awesome. Okay, so we're going to assign her, we're going to assign SQL Slinger. We're going to call this an enhancement in SP Database Restore. And then she has added a commit to fix this issue. So let's go take a look at the pull request and see, here's her pull request for adding a fix orphan users option. Now, when you maintain a open source project, like I do with the First Responder Kit, ideally somebody gives me a pull request that's got the actual code for the things that they want to change. So then all I have to do in that beautiful situation is I go look at the pull request, I click on files changed, and then GitHub has this awesome comparison thing right here, where right in a web browser, I can see exactly what was changed. This is so cool. I can see what they subtracted and I can see what they added. Now, one of the things that isn't so cool is if people make changes that are kind of unrelated to the problem that they were trying to fix, it can show up as a change in here. She didn't say anything about moving the full text catalog or buffer count or max transfer size. What most likely happened here is that she used some kind of code formatting tool that switched in between spaces and tabs. In a perfect world, when you're doing a pull request, you don't change anything other than the thing that you're trying to fix. So then that way, who's ever reviewing your code doesn't have to go through as equal to FDBA says Eric goes and changes all of his commas. My thing is I'm usually just lazy. I don't. Oh, thank you, Cheeton. Thank you for subscribing with Prime. Awesome. Very cool. Thank you. So I don't usually make too many changes. If somebody decided to switch back and forth between spaces and tabs, the thing that I worry about here, though, is I think she might be running from an old version. Because check this out. There is a difference in... Oh, no, those are the same, too. Those are the same. It's just she changed spaces and tabs across a bunch of these, and then she added in the brand new fix orphan users. She did default fix orphan users to 1. I would kind of rather... Oh, hey, DK Kimbo also subscribed. Welcome to the club, DK Kimbo. In a perfect world, I would rather default of this to this as 0. Samuel, you're absolutely right, actually. Also, remember, this is a Windows VM that I don't usually use. This is a Windows VM that I'm using just for today's stream. It's just kind of a throwaway kind of thing. On my Mac, I totally do use dark mode. But you're absolutely right. I'm totally a dark mode guy. And I don't have dark mode on the website, which is something that's been on my radar for a little while. So I wish fix orphan users was 0. That's going to be the only thing that I'm going to change so far. Let's go down and see what else she changed. Okay, so also she's got a new section of code here. New section of code here that says if fix orphan users equals 1 and execute equals yes, then go through and create a table and go through and do this work. Now, I see a problem here. The problem that I see is Rebecca's code is only firing if execute equals y. But with SP Database Restore, we allow you to generate the scripts. If you say execute equals no, Database Restore will go through and build the list of things that it has to do, and then it'll give you the script to accomplish what you wanted to do instead of us executing it ourselves. So what we need to do is we need to still build this script of whatever the used database name is and so forth. We still need to build it even if they said execute equals no. Okay, that's 2 things that I'm going to have to change inside this pull request now. So I have a philosophy that if there's only one thing that I have to change, I'll do it myself. If there are 2 things that I have to change, then I'm going to push it back on the other person. I'm going to explain what I want them to do. One of the nice things about, and I know that that's kind of a tough attitude amongst open source maintainers. A lot of them will say, oh, don't worry, I'll pick up from here and do the rest of this work. The problem is that I don't actually have a test bed set up for SP Database Restore. I don't use SP Database Restore. So I'm just assuming that her code works. I also want to, if I'm going to make multiple changes to it, I want that person to make the change so that they can test it. So let's do a code review. Let's say, and Samuel asked the great question. He says, I'm curious how you test these changes, or do you delegate this to the pull request? If it's in a piece of code that I use, which is basically everything in the first responder kit except SP Database Restore and SP All Night Log, if it's other than those, I just test it myself. But because I don't use SP Database Restore and SP All Night Log anymore, I don't do a lot of production database work, I can't really test it very well myself. So I'm going to come back up here to the change then, and I'm going to say, I'm going to do a review. I'm going to start a code review. Actually, I'll just put it in over here. So it is for fix orphan users. Can we default fix orphan, oops, we'll just say fix orphan users to 0 instead of 1. I just don't want to fire new behavior without the users being aware. Start a review. And then I'm also going to say down here, I'm going to say the way this is written, it will only generate the user changes if execute equals y. It won't allow, oops, let me move this over so that y'all can see what I'm writing. It won't allow folks who review, if someone runs this, runs it with execute equals no, so that they can review the changes first, or if they want to apply them by hand, this portion of the dynamic SQL won't show up. Can you change it to build the dynamic SQL even if execute equals no? If not, is there a reason why? I only did a quick scan of this. Add review comment. Okay, so we got 2 comments in there. Now, is there anything else before don't you hate it when somebody kicks something back to you and then you do the change and then they kick it back to you again for something that they could have caught the first time? I don't know about you, but I hate it when that happens. So, yeah, oh, sure. So that's what I was going to say. We should scan on, see what else we find. And so default blame acceptor says line 1600 has a server reference. That's a very good catch. WHQMS. Woohoo! Nicely done. So we'll add a note about that as well. We'll say this looks like a hard-coded server reference to WHQMS. Shout out to default blame acceptor on the live stream for catching this. Shout? Should out. I should out you. No, that's not right. Let's see, what else do we have inside here? So I love the collate. The collate is really nice on the join on TempDB. That's fantastic. Samuel Stick. Oh, Samuel Stick says, do you mind us leaving comments on these pull requests? Not at all. And in fact, when people submit pull requests on SP Database Restore and SP All Night Log, I actually ask them to go find testers in their network. I'll give you an example. I'm going to pop a new browser window just to show you what I'm talking about. It's such a good question. If I go over to First Responder Kit and I look at the pull requests, there's a pull request that's been in here for forever, SP All Night Log error handling improvements. David made a huge amount of changes to that stored procedure. Huge. To the point where I was like, dude, I can't even review all of this. Like, I can't even read it myself. You've made so many wide-ranging changes. If you want to find someone who can review this, who uses SP All Night Log, I'd love for you to, but otherwise I can't really do anything with this. So we've got that. Was there anything else that I want to look at? It's possible. Do you see line 1594? Line 1594, alter user dname. It's possible that this could be vulnerable to SQL injection. Now, I don't know how I feel about that. I'm going to ask Rebecca. I'm going to say, this one's kind of tricky, and I hate even mentioning it, but is it possible that we could have SQL injection here? If there are other similar issues in the code, don't worry about it. I just try to use quote name or whatever whenever I can. Add review comment. Anything else in there, if I go in and take a look, the use on line 1603, the use is going to break for things like database names with spaces. Let's take a look at that. I'll make a note of that too. I think this will break on database names with spaces. Probably need to quote name this, add review comment, and then go finish review. I'm going to say thanks for, hopefully I move this around so y'all can see it. Thanks for the pull request. I made a few notes about things we probably need to change. I would change them, but I don't have a good test bed for SP database restore. And since you're actively using it, I'd rather you make the changes and test it to make sure it works on your machine. Request changes, submit review, and then after that submits, there we go. So this is a really good example of how much work it is to maintain an open source project. In this example, so we've seen two issues. One of them was an issue with no pull requests where the person didn't even bother looking at the code to see what it was that they were complaining about. In the other one, not only did the person look at the code, they contributed their own improvements and ran them in production, like they're tested and happy with it, and yet we still have additional changes that we need to make. It's some of the questions, or sometimes when people submit pull requests, it's really easy, it goes really quickly. Other times it takes wide-ranging amounts of work in order to really make it work out well. So let's take a look at the remaining open issues and see if there's anything easy that we can also jump in on there. So let's see here, come over to the issues. We have, next one is SP Blitz who increase the accuracy of the grant time column to match the rest of the date columns. Oh, that's really interesting. He says, if the grant, whoops, wrong keys there. If the grant time is available, it'll be available in this format. I'd really like it to have seconds and milliseconds. I'm making a pull request after filing this issue. Oh, that's kind of neat. Let's go take a look at his pull request and see what he changed. So pull request and files changed. All right, so he changed grant time. Looks like it used to be varchar 20. It's now varchar 23. Cast used to be varchar 20. It's now varchar 20. It's now a convert to varchar 23 with a format on there, a convert format number 21, which probably means seconds and milliseconds. Then we'll come down a little bit further. So this one's pretty straightforward. I assume this one actually works pretty well. Just it's adding seconds and milliseconds. I don't think it's going to break much. There is one thing that's a little easy. Caligula says easy peasy. Yeah. There's one thing that might be just a little bit tricky. With SP Blitz who, you can output the output. You can write the output to table. So I'm wondering in SP Blitz who, if we put grant time in the output table, and if we do, so let's say output table name. Let's see. Here we go. So it has a create table in it, and drum roll please. Where the hell is grant time? Look at that. Oh. SQL Dev DBA gifted a tier 1 sub to Caligula. Nicely done, Caligula. There you go. Enjoy. So this is really close. All we have to do is we have to alter the grant time, and then it's going to work, right? Like all we have to do is change it in the table, and then it's going to start working. Well, no, it's not. Because anybody who has an existing SP Blitz Who table that they're writing the output to, that will break. Because when you go to put too long of a string in there into the output table, it's going to fail with an error. So even though this sounds easy peasy, it's still not easy peasy. So let's come back over here to the pull request. I'm going to say, thanks. I'll move this around so y'all can see it a little better. Thanks for the pull request. There's one slight problem. You can output the results of SP Blitz Who to table. And there's a create table that defines this column as varchar 20 still. You could edit that creation statement and it'll then work for newly created tables, but not for people like me who are already outputting or who have been using this for a while, and have already created the output tables. You would also, in order to stop, they would get truncation errors when longer dates are inserted into their existing output tables. You could fix that by checking the data type on the existing output table, and if it's a varchar 20, the grant time, change it to a varchar 23. However, let's step back for a second. What's the problem we're trying to solve? Is there a situation where you genuinely need the seconds and milliseconds for a memory grant time? If you do, then you can make the above changes to the pull request to get it to work, but otherwise I don't want to break everyone else's existing jobs. Thanks for understanding. I know it's a pain. Request changes, submit review. And I'm going to add it to that person, assign it to Vlad, who's a smart person, and he's done pull requests for the first responder kit before, SP Blitz Who, and I've accepted him. It's really funny. I'll come back over to Cam 2. It's really funny. Today, I honestly thought when I started, I didn't look at the outstanding issues or pull requests at all. Like, I didn't even glance at them before this call. I just saw that there were half a dozen issues and half a dozen pull requests, and I thought, oh, it'll be cool for this month's first responder or next month's first responder kit release. As I go through the issues and pull requests, I'll record it for video. People will be excited that their stuff gets pulled in. Then instead, I got 3 issues where I can't accept any of the code yet. That is fairly unusual. Usually, at least most of the stuff that I work on can go straight into the code base, but not so in this case. I kind of adore that. DK says turn on ANSI padding and let it truncate the value silently. I try not to change anything like that because I've seen issues where it raises problems with people's monitoring where they say we want to make sure that no one ever turns on switch whatever, and then they alert in case we change any of the default session options. So I'm not a really big fan of that. I love the creativity though. So there you go. That's probably a good place for us to stop. We're batting 0 out of our 3 attempts to work with issues and pull requests. I love that as an example. I'm totally looking forward to publishing that on the YouTube channel. Nothing against the folks who submitted issues and pull requests this week. All of them have done successful issues and pull requests in the past. It's just luck of the draw that we had 3 bad ones this week. So thanks for hanging out with me today. I will go now. I actually have to go meet my backyard renovation crew. It's really funny. I have this ongoing backyard renovation saga that's been a hot mess for almost a year. And they have I found yet another 2 issues with it this past Monday. So now they're coming on site today to try to fix those issues. It was Got this sunken living area that we're building in the backyard, sunken outside with a gas fire pit, a TV wall, a hot tub, all kinds of stuff. And I walk out there and I'm like, hey, we're supposed to have a TV wall there, right? And they go, yeah. And I said, where's the power? Where's the electric power? I said, oh, don't we have a hot tub over there? He said, yeah. I said, where's the power for that? And on a little bit of investigation, we found out that they built the concrete wall, but they forgot to run the power through the wall. So if you look on the other side of the wall, buried in the ground, there's the electrical conduit, and it just ends outside the wall. It doesn't actually go through the wall to where the hot tub is and the TV wall is, so they have to go figure out how that's going to work. So thanks for hanging out with me today, and I will see y'all next 2 weeks. Remember, we don't have live office hours in the next 2 weeks. I'm going to be recording them on the cruise ship and then uploading them from the cruise ship. So I will see you in a couple of weeks. Adios, y'all. Bye-bye.